It's what my character would do. A common excuse given to probably rather disruptive players at a D&D table. I don't want to discuss this one. Welcome back, this is Jack. I do apologize if I don't have my normal energy. I'm recording while rather emotionally drained and pretty tired, but this is something I've been kind of wanting to make a video to talk about. If you've played D&D for some time and you have some morally ambiguous character or a character who has a habit they like to do that is rather disruptive to the rest of the party, inevitably you will have a player who says, "It's what my character would do." Now, is there a place to use that line? Yes. Is there a place to use that logic? Yes. I will give a specific example involving me, actually. I'm playing a Mutants and Mastermind game with friends. It's one of the few times I've got to be a player, and I've been enjoying this. My character is very analytical and very, astute to what their own limitations are. In a group of people who have superpowers and a giant robot suit, my character is a human, has no powers whatsoever, and is just basically a martial artist, and we usually describe them as an aggressive journalist, because that's what they do. They investigate, they get information, and then they release it to, media outlets to bring people into punishment. And during a fight where we were fighting some drones, my character was useless. Like, I had a taser I could use a couple times, but eventually they started getting some good distance and they were out of my range. My character has collie sticks for the rest of their fighting style, couldn't reach them. So my character left, especially because they were chasing a car that my character could not keep up with. It was going about 30 miles an hour. My character is human with no super speed or anything. My character just left. Went back to their base, which one of the other players had decided they were going to go track me down, and they didn't find who I was because my character takes hiding their identity very serious, and I fought them. So I had to relocate my base, move everything I could, and salvage what I could. So my character chose to do that instead of rescuing a new player who was joining in, because they knew they would have been useless in the fight. That is an example of it's what my character would do. I have played to this point being my character being extremely analytical, and I even said at the table, I'm trying to find an excuse to ignore this. And the other player said, no, you're right. This is what your character would do. So the justification wasn't to the party, it was to me. But you more often than not see the justification when a character steals from the party, kills an NPC that was either decently liked or probably important to the plot, and it becomes an issue. There are more elements than just that. There's also an element of when a character does something that not only would we not do in our normal day-to-day lives, but is almost triggering is the best word for it. Now, D&D, this is my opinion, should have a relative safe space and understanding for your players. If there is concepts or atmosphere that I bring to the table as a player or as a DM, it is a failure on my part. D&D is a community game where we come together and make people feel safe to enjoy themselves, have fun. If I'm taking away the fun from the other players, I'm being selfish in ruining the game. If as a DM, all I'm trying to do is murder my players and not letting them have power moments and enjoy themselves, then I'm ruining the game as a DM. The game is not for one person to have fun. It is for the group to have fun. One of the people who's a loyal follower and a good, I would actually say a friend, Pulse, he had a relative disagreement with me. In his mind, D&D is not a safe space. You should be able to, he felt people who complain about possible word that rhymes with grape scenes in a game are perfectly fine. You're just a crybaby snowflake in his mind. I vehemently disagree with this. If I had a player at my table who had experienced something like that, and I try to make that an element or something in the game as a DM, or even as a player, that is a failure on my part. My cat just crawled into my lap. That is a failure on my part. I am not only ruining the game for them, but also it's going to destroy their motivation to be able to play the game. It might do worse. From personal experience, I ran D&D games while I was in the Navy. There was this 3rd, 4th Fleet Rec out in Yokosuka, Japan, and I ran games on the regular. There was the occasional Marine who would stay in the area. I don't know why they were in the area, but they were. And one of them inevitably joined the game. And this guy was the definition of machoism. Like, he could not show weakness. His only like non-sports athletic thing he liked to do, he actually enjoyed playing D&D with us. And at some point, his dad had died, but he couldn't bring himself to feel that emotion. He couldn't bring himself to cry. But during a D&D game, he broke down crying because it wasn't him doing it. It was his character doing it. He needed that release. And all of us knew what he was doing, and we were there to support it. After I left the Navy, there was another game I was running. We had a kid who was autistic. He was nonverbal. He was pretty young, too. But he was safe there. His mom had to work, and we usually were running games pretty long, so she was able to work, and we were able to watch her kid. And he was nonverbal, but he still felt safe around us. He was okay being around me and around the DM. And during the game, after a couple months of running this game once a week, he says something. He says, "Please pass the dice." It was just a quiet little voice that came across the table, and we all shut up for a second and heard it. It said his first words to us. This was probably like only a handful of times he has talked his whole life, and he shared it with us. His mom was ecstatic. Not too long after he started talking, he became more verbal, more expressive. That just meant so much, and that's what D&D is for. That's what tabletop gaming as a whole, Pathfinder, you name it, that's what it's for. It's not meant to have this edgy, hateful game. It's meant to encourage people and have fun. So I disagree with Pulse when he says this is for you're a bunch of crybaby snowflakes if you don't want a certain elements in the game. Me as a DM, it is my responsibility to understand what is okay for the players at my table, what they're willing to deal with. While at the same time, if a player starts doing that, a player starts doing grape to NPCs and stuff, or assaulting players or characters like that, it is my job as a DM to shut that down. Even if I'm a player, it is somewhat still my job to shut that down to some degree. As a DM, I normally don't like killing players, but I will do that in a heartbeat if a player's not listening to me. Okay, cool, now you got a new character. Get rid of that personality trait. And if there's a scene that comes up where I know the players are going to be uncomfortable, but it's semi-required for the story, I gloss over it. They know it happened. I don't detail it. It's afterwards. Done. But it was only if it was required for the story for one reason or another. But these are my thoughts on the concept of it's what my character would do. I feel majority of the time when people say that, they are saying it just to justify them ruining the fun for other players. Now, I would love your thoughts. I would love to see how you've handled this kind of thought at the table, how you've addressed it as a DM, as a player, as an outsider. Or if you've never played D&D or tabletop games in your life and you're just hearing this for the first time, I want to know what you think about that. Because it's kind of a big deal. It really is. It's an obstacle that a lot of less experienced DMs run into and just don't know how to handle because they may have not even thought of how to address it themselves. So I do appreciate it. I'm going to try and release more D&D content. This is more of just because I'm tired and my brain's not working right. So I just wanted to make this video because it's something I've been wanting to talk. If you prefer this more free form than some of the other styles I do, let me know. And comment section, like, subscribe, share. You know what I'm supposed to say. See you all in the next one.